One of the popular things or one of the issues, one of the lifestyles that came with the 21st century is what we know as social media. And it came with its characteristics, behavioral patterns, and several things that have affected our daily lives. You might be with someone on the same sofa and you're not chatting for long, but online he's very busy, diving, laughing, and doing several things. But there are still other places where the social media is affecting, which is written and most times spoken English. This morning we are going to look at social media and written English. How has this affected it? How far? And maybe we'll also be asking, how do we actually go through this and come out without affecting that thing that should have been our legacy? Joining us in the studio this morning is Mr. Anthony Okeke, social media influencer. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Welcome.
Thank you very much.
We also have a student, Miss Antonia Nnachi, right?
Yeah.
Good morning. Welcome to the studio.
Thank you.
I think both of you will balance this argument.
By the way, are you twins?
No.
Tony and Antonia.
No, it's just a coincidence.
Coincidence of dresses too.
Yeah. It's a mind.
That's a
thing.
big one. You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
So, in the age of laugh one kill me die, and laugh out loud and several other things. Let me ask you, Anthony, now.
Okay.
How would you describe our social media usage?
Okay. It has been aberrated so far. Like the negative aspect of it has been, I don't know how to describe it, way larger than the positive, owing to its use. Because social media is good or bad depends on how you use it. Yeah, it has the tendency to spread good news in 1 second all over the world, and it has the tendency to also spread bad news or bad content all over too. So it depends on how you use it. But so far, most people use it for negative more than positive. But there is the positive. But most people are more, I don't know whether to say more interested or whether they find it funny or, I don't know, they're just enthusiastic about the unnecessary aspect of it.
Okay. Growing up, you find out that teachers take extra time to teach you how to write good English and speak it too, okay, by way of correcting you when you speak or write. But these days, it does appear everything is acceptable. You can speak anything you like. You can even write anything you like, whether you understand, the next person understands it or not, is the person's business. And I'd like to find out from you, how has social media changed the way we speak and write English in this side of the world especially?
Okay. Talking about that, it has really changed the way we write, especially on the youth. Because I remember those days when you go through dictation classes trying to teach you how to spell correctly and all sorts of that. And again, when you're reading a novel or something, you look up to the dictionary. But these days, people no longer does that. It's no longer it's no longer trending. Like when you see maybe when you see a word, you go look up in the dictionary, maybe trying to get the correct spellings and all of that. As far as you can just kind of abbreviate it to a certain level.
Whatever you want to.
Yes, to a certain level whereby whether you know your target. The target is youth to youth. Because you can't abbreviate for my grandfather and expect him to understand you. Definitely he will call you back to say, "Nee, I don't understand this. What do you mean?" So it has really affected us, both the spoken English, like somebody will tell you, "I want to see you ASAP. I want to see you as soon as possible." Yes. Maybe you said something, instead of somebody to say laugh out loud or write it correctly, you just say LOL. You know, whether you understand what I mean or not, I've written what I want to write. I think that's the trend now.
Whether you understand what I've written or not,
that's just the problem.
But the question is,
do they even know what to write? Just like she said, honestly.
I think
most times it's a kind of how do I put it? It's a kind of escape.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
He doesn't know the spelling of this thing. He just pick one or two words.
Yeah,
from
yeah.
there,
So,
he thinks that can make sense. And
so
then put it
social media does that. Yeah, right. Like you said, escape. So if somebody wants to write escape, he could just write. If he remembers that S and P sounds there, he might just write ESP.
Exactly.
And then when you ask him, he might use voice note to tell you that he meant escape or something like
And
that.
most times, you might think the person is actually joking, or that the person just wants to freestyle, not knowing that that's what he knows about the word. You know, you'll be like, somebody wants to write something, and it's actually a mistake. You'll be like, this thing is not correct. You tell you, allow it for me. I like it that way. That's how I want to write it.
Yeah. A lot of people get insultive, and then they try to make you feel like you're doing too much when you're
Exactly.
correcting them.
Yes.
Yeah, I've had fights with people when I correct them. Ordinarily, I don't correct abbreviations. I only correct grammatical errors when you either misuse singular for plural and all that. And I do that via inbox. You understand, in your inbox section. But some people will still feel intimidated that you're correcting their English. They feel this space is supposed to be as you are.
Word.
So you're not supposed to get serious on social media. So these days I've dialed down on correcting people. I only correct people I know personally, people who I know won't take offense on that.
Now, yes, social media, people still try to remove it from the formal aspect of life, but you discover that several things formal is also happening there.
Yeah.
Now, there's an argument that English or languages is developed out of usage.
Okay.
Let me say, for example, now, fufu is in English dictionary presently.
Wow.
Because people have used it over time.
Over time. Yeah.
So, what about these abbreviations? Are you not seeing a point where it becomes also acceptable words?
Okay.
Let me say something like ASP now, and English comes to accept it as soon as possible, as a word. Don't you think it is left for the humans to adopt to whatever usage they want to adopt English to, and not follow the rules and processes taught in school?
It depends on what you want to achieve. For example, ASAP, which means as soon as possible. You can excuse ASAP to mean that the person is needs it urgently, so he can abbreviate the word. You get, but there are some unnecessary abbreviations that could ruin the entire English. And if they start adopting abbreviations, you see a lot of calls for different kinds of abbreviations. At the end of the day, somebody might make a sentence and you will not understand it. Okay. You see a sentence and out of maybe 7 words, 5 of them are abbreviations. So you start having to interpret it like shorthand. So it depends on the usage, but I think some abbreviations might already be in the dictionary. You get? If putting something like ASAP in the dictionary, I think it's okay. You get? Because the purpose might be there. Somebody needing something as soon as possible can easily, it's understandable they abbreviate.
ASAP.
Yeah, ASAP. So those kind of things are necessary. But I still think it depends on the atmosphere. You mentioned usage of
the English or the language,
giving birth to the language itself.
Yes.
So I think it's based on your circle and your how you use it. Again, if your purpose is sincere or okay enough, I think it's.
So what do you mean? What do you mean by if the purpose is sincere?
For example, calling fufu is actually just an innocent thing.
Okay.
I don't think it has any other name. The other name, I think, starch or something, does not really match what it is. Okay. So it is just fufu. The way pizza is pizza, fufu is just fufu. So there's no need translating it to English, maybe calling it
swallow,
or it doesn't work that. So if something like that, now, we grew up calling it fufu, moi moi, you understand? So all those kind of things, I think that is where usage can give back to language. But it's not when you're writing Y-O-U-R and you now write U-R for yo. I don't think those ones are necessary.
If you don't think they're necessary, let me come to you, Tonia, because you mentioned shorthand. I am foreseeing a situation in future whereby this will become our own shorthand, and it will be kind of acceptable, because it does appear it's not abating very soon. The thing is increasing every day. As much as about 73% of teachers are very worried about what it's doing to the written and spoken English of their students, the fact remains that it is not abating. It's increasing on a daily basis. Are you not seeing a situation whereby in future it will be accepted as maybe a new way of shorthand?
Okay, coming to that now, I'm foreseeing that, but in as much as we are trying to adopt it as our own shorthand in future, I still don't think it's important that we adopt it.
As standard.
Yes, because English language, as I know it, is a language that has rules. It's a language that has standard. And so when such rules are broken, you see that it is causing a problem.
Okay, sorry, before you continue, someone wants to join us.
Okay.
Hello.
Yeah, good morning. Once again, my friends and speakers, we are here to be partners. I'm ready to successful for the speaker. I think it's going to go.
Good morning.
Yeah, you speak your phone on the line this morning. I've not gone
All right, go on, let's hear you.
Yes, my contribution, social media and the writing English. You know, first and foremost, we have to know, we have to be in the know that social media English is quite different from the main English. You know, because people have used social media and the writing English as kind of okay. They have invited their own way of writing English in order to convey whoever is administrated. That is to say, for instance, you can see you, which is Y-O-U,
Yeah.
single you, and still understand them. That is to say that they are trying to insult, to simplify the way of writing to people, and at the same time make meaning out of it. And the people are still understanding it, they communicate it and still understand it. So I think I see a kind of importation of the different language in terms of trying to translate whatever information you get. A kind of English, right? Social media. So it is a welcome learning, but the problem we have now is that it is also affecting young people. And when I say young people, I mean people who are in secondary school level, primary school, and the life. Why? Because it's affecting their way of writing English when it comes to the appropriate and that way to read it when they write their work and the context. They can't write anything.
John Paul.
They can't do right application with their job.
John Paul, I think we've gotten your point, although your line was actually breaking. But thank you for making your contributions. We'll continue with the discussions after this short break. Stay with us.
And then, you know, our generation has a penchant for being lazy, right? And then we're easily influenced. And then westernization seems to be something which we think is what we find on the pages of social media, right? So there's a possibility, or there's a tendency for us to prepare to live like we see in the movies rather than we see in the real, actual corporate world.
Social media have affected our way of speaking English and the way we write English. Why? Most of the times we shout on social media like WhatsApp, Facebook, you see some people doing abbreviations which might really affect the right pronunciation and the right spelling of that word. It will even affect them that even during exam time, you see somebody writing exam, you'll be busy writing short abbreviation instead of to write the full meaning of the words being needed.
Yeah, it does, because at the end of the day, you find out the abbreviation is now too much. Even when you want to write a letter or something like that, it's very hard. Sometimes it affects you and you start thinking about some spellings that you cannot, you won't be able to remember the normal things you used to do when you were in school. So that thing is not too good. It's not too good at all.
Considering that this time around, the students and young people, they find it difficult, to pick up the books, write, just because they have access to the internet. They have access to Android phones, whereby you can just pick up your phone, go through Twitter, Instagram, and for God's sake, anything you want, you can just Google it and you have an answer. So I believe that made people lazier, that they cannot find time to either read a very long text or have to write. You understand?
those of all of the old school were already complaining that our younger generation can't write English, but many of them can't even write letters. Then comes this social media, pardon me, I use the word lingo, that tend to totally pervert, the typical tenses and structure of English. So I think in the affirmative, yes, social media has worsened both the capacity and the ability of younger people to write good English.
All right, welcome back. It's still Good Morning Anambra, and we're looking at social media and written English. And we have in the studio with us Mr. Mark Anthony Okeke, social media influencer. Welcome again.
Thank you very much.
Also, Antonia Nnachi, a student, also with us in the studio looking at this important topic. Both of them are from the two most important aspects where this thing is actually affecting. Someone said in the Vox Pop that social media has worsened the capacity of young people to make use of the English. Do you agree totally with him?
Yeah, I agree with him. Majorly, it has worsened the capacity, because I believe that social media is like every other community. Only that it's virtual. So in any community, for example, whether you're in Anambra State or in Lagos State, you can choose to hang out with the good guys, you can choose to hang out with the bad guys. So on social media now, there are communities where what they do there is writing, articles, publications, authors, whether you're a published author or not, you be in that community, there is no shorthand, there is just fully written English. You get, like I personally, on social media, I don't use shorthand or abbreviation. I don't use any form of abbreviations on my WhatsApp chat, on my social media, my Facebook. I chat with full grammar, because I found out that most people, I do business and I meet my clients online. So I found out that most people respect you when you're not using all those silly abbreviations. You can't be telling someone of a proposal or a contract and you're using you and all that. Even when clients are chatting back to me with with abbreviations, I'm still giving them full words, because I know that they would still respect you for being that format. So even with my friends, I don't make the mistakes of using shorthands or abbreviations.
Some people argue that it makes the charts faster and easier, and not because they can't write it out, but because of speed, convenience.
No, it doesn't.
That's why they do that.
It doesn't.
It doesn't.
I think
it doesn't mean there's no advantage to shorthand or abbreviation that we use in social media.
I don't think. It depends on how you use it. Like, for example, when I chat, I'm always fast. I think if you're fast, you're fast. So if, for example, I'm typing now, most times I don't even see my fingers. People sitting around me complain, because I've mastered the art of typing fast with full words and not abbreviations.
And just you, for somebody who is a slow typer.
Because you wouldn't use yourself as a measurement.
Okay. Well, of course, you should be faster. Typing 5 words and typing 1 word won't take the same time. It's faster. But then there are disadvantages. I started using full words when I realized that I was becoming dull. Sometimes
before we look at disadvantages, do we have any advantage at all of this abbreviation in social media? Does it have any advantage?
There's no advantage. There's no advantage.
No, not one.
At all. Because it goes on to make you...
as a secretary will attend meeting with your boss, and then you put down everything and perhaps develop it thereafter. And a lot of issues are coming up at the same time. What do you do?
Okay, if that's the case, I would just maybe write it in a headline or in just a sentence that will help me remind me of what happened at that particular point.
You know why I don't totally...
That happened. That was the need for shorthand in those days.
Yes, exactly. Because that's why I don't actually want to agree with you. There is no advantage to this. Shorthand was a discipline on its own.
Yeah.
At that point. Because what they were using were typewriters. You had to write with shorthand. because of the technology available at that point. In the age of, what's it called? When they were writing on scrolls,
Okay.
there were also shorthands that used, at least the Bible was written with scrolls.
Okay.
Are you getting me? So our technology at this point seems to have also demanded that. This kind of shorthand. And you wouldn't have to blame the generation for adopting that shorthand.
It's not the technology that is demanding it. People are just doing it. When we talk of shorthand, there is a pattern. There are rules. There are regulations. If these abbreviations are put together and there are rules and regulations, it's already a language. So, but if somebody comes today now and he wants to write art and he sends me A, and then I ask, what do you mean? He says art. That is wrong. There is no rule to that.
That might not be an abbreviation to art. You know, some people, just because I said it earlier, maybe because they don't even know the correct spelling of what they're going to do. They just put up something ready to defend it. But if you ask him to, why don't you just write it? He doesn't know the spelling.
Yeah.
Okay? And that is why we want to look at the disadvantages of this shorthand. Because if you have taken time to learn this thing, the spellings and how to speak or pronounce this, you won't have problem writing them down.
Exactly.
So let's quickly point out some of the disadvantages of
the disadvantages is when you use words that are totally different from the actual spelling. Over time, you forget, because the brain processes. Over time, you forget the actual spelling. So if you're about to spell T-H-E-R-E there, and you write D-I-A, if you do that for 3-4 years, you might find out that one day you're asking somebody what's the spelling of there. You understand? So if you do it over time, you forget the actual spelling of the word. So it can make you lose your grammar.
Okay, as you also make that disadvantage, can you just in 30 seconds give your advice to social media users?
My advice is this. For purpose of, especially the young ones, you have a long way to go. It's better off writing in full words, and then, because people actually respect you when you write in full words, whether you're chatting with your friends or with your relatives. If they see your spacing, your words, your punctuations are in order, there's this respect they have for you that they don't even know they have. You get? So you have to try to write in full words. If you must abbreviate where necessary. Don't just abbreviate and then use entirely different words to represent a different word. It will affect your grammar, and in the long run, you might not be able to compose a 3-word sentence full.
All right, thank you, Mr. McAnthony Okeke. Anthony, your advice?
My advice to my fellow young ones out there is this. Let's try to develop our vocabulary, our written English, in as much as we try to abbreviate. Once you start abbreviating, it's going to continue like that, and you're going to lose your hold on English language or other languages. And again, you can as well download autocorrect on your phone. You know, it enables you to write incomplete words.
All right. Thank you very much, Ms. Anthony Aminachi, a student, for joining us on the show this morning.
Thank you.
And Mr. McAnthony Okeke, social media influencer.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. And that's how far we'll go on this thing for the day. The discussion on Good Morning Anambra continues right after now.